In Hartford, Connecticut, legally armed citizens recently started a self-defense brigade to oppose violent crime in their neighborhoods. Volunteers, regular folks like you and me, now patrol the streets wearing body cameras and pistols. They even use drones to help keep an eye out on things. The Democratic machine in Hartford is either unwilling or unable, incapable of doing it, explains the group's founder. So we want the people to understand self-defense is not a dirty word. Hartford's Democratic mayor has no surprise denounced the group. It seems he would prefer people in his town sit on their hands and remain victims. There have been a lot of victims lately. The New York social worker savagely beaten during a home visit who just died from his injuries. The man slashed in the neck with a knife by a stranger near Lafayette Square. The 55-year-old woman stabbed from behind in an unprovoked attack near Central Park. And these were all in the past few weeks. In just one city, in early May, a man was arrested for punching and kicking a young woman on the Q train at the Stillwell Avenue station. He was, no surprise, back on the street the next day, thanks to lax bail laws. 3 weeks later, this same man pulled a knife on a Metropolitan Transit worker. Sadly, you can fill hundreds of pages with such stories from across the country. Innocent people suffering from brutal crime. 2 years ago, my own baby brother was the innocent victim of violent crime. It still seems to me like that terrible phone call and that nightmare happened just yesterday. Christian was murdered as a bystander to a drive-by shooting on the streets of our hometown, Chicago. He was 18 and excited about starting college. But that horrific day, he became just one of the 24,000 murdered across the United States that same year. From every age, every race, every income bracket. Is there any surprise or shock? What about guilt from those in power who allow such suffering to thrive? In cities across the U.S., George Soros-backed prosecutors like Alvin Bragg in Manhattan, Kim Foxx in Chicago, George Gascon in Los Angeles, and dozens of others have implemented policies that have allowed lawbreaking and violent crime to flourish. Soros has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to influence elections at every level in every corner of the country. His goal, it seems, is to reshape the U.S. by targeting and weakening our judicial system. Funding more than 75 prosecutors who prioritize prosecuting police officers over criminals has led to increased crime rates and instability in many cities. We, as a country, are at a crossroads. Violence and lawlessness are rampant, and it needs to stop. Some people, like the brave citizens in Hartford and others, are fighting back and doing something about it. But it's an uphill battle, and more must be done. In my innocent brother's memory, I've assembled my own team of vigilantes and created a group called the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety. This new organization is dedicated to combating crime and violence across the United States, with the mission to foster safer communities through innovative strategies, robust community partnerships, and combating soft-on-crime prosecutors and legislation. We will stop the enablers of violent crime in their tracks and pursue evidence-based policies that are proven to work. The Institute's team already includes a range of expertise, from Pam Bondi, former Attorney General of Florida, to Dr. Drew Pinsky, board-certified physician and popular television host, to a police chief, Dr. Joel Fitzgerald Sr., and many other professionals who have dedicated their lives to making a difference. We're bringing together a coalition of policymakers, health professionals, law enforcement, community leaders, and social service organizations to address the root cause of crime and violence. We are not only working with local, state, and federal government to fight the rise of soft-on-crime policies, but also provide support service for victims, including counseling, legal assistance, and emergency support. The Caldwell Institute is calling on other organizations, businesses, and individuals to join the movement for safer communities. Through partnerships and donations, everyone can have a role to play in creating a safer, more peaceful society. Until we stop the ongoing push of nefarious actors like Soros and other soft-on-crime officials and mouthpieces, there are only going to be more unnecessary victims. 2 years since my brother's murder, and I continue to press for justice for Christian and now for others. Christian's death was senseless, but it doesn't have to be meaningless. I hope we will again somehow find justice, not just for Christian, but also for the thousands of people whose names are never truly shared. Those families and communities whose cries are never televised or heard. I hope others will join us to support policies and solutions for the future and safety, justice, and well-being of all Americans. Inactivity and apathy are not a choice here. There are active forces now in our nation aggressively working against our police and judicial systems. Those millions of us who still care about safety and justice must take a stand against this evil wherever and whenever we can. Join us at caldwellinstitute.org.